teachers of Reddit. What's the weirdest thing a student answered to tell me a fun fact about yourself? I teach middle school. This one still takes the cake. That his mom and dad have the same parents. I asked him to clarify because I didn't understand what he was saying, and he said I only have one set of grandparents. They had the same parents. I quickly moved to the next student so no one else would realize that this kid just told the class that his parents were siblings. I talked to him about it the next day in private, and he said that he got it mixed up. His parents don't have the exact same parents. They shared a dad. I felt so much better when the mom called me to let me know her elderly stepfather married her husband's elderly mother. Still weird, but much better. My mom married her brother-in-law. That was always confusing when I started telling people as a kid. That confused me for a few seconds because I thought you meant in-law via marriage. Maybe because my great aunt married her brother-in-law the other way round. She had an affair with her husband's brother, divorced her husband, and the happy couple are still going strong into their 80s lol. One of my friend's moms did that. Her husband died, and like 10 years later she married his brother. My arm is fucked y'all in the deepest southern drawl, and proceeded to wildly swing his fucked up arm around. He was 12, had Erb's palsy, and also got detention that day. He might be one of my fat students. I can play this in my head, and it is hilarious. I live in the Carolinas. I can hear this perfectly. Students told me that there is a chapter dedicated to him in a dental surgery textbook because of a very rare disorder that he had as a child. I may still have that essay. My brother had something like this when he was somewhere around 9 or 10 years old. He had to have 12 teeth surgically removed. He just had too many growing too quickly. It was so crazy that the oral surgeon apparently negotiated a deal with my father. The surgeon will completely pay for my brother's surgery in exchange for taking a couple extra x-rays and lots of photos to be published in an academic journal of some sort. Reddit coming full circle. Teacher of brother meets brother's sibling. You know what? That would be one hell of a coincidence. Opposite side of the classroom. But on day 1 of class our professor spent most of the time talking about himself, his mental health, and how he was friendly with students. While he didn't say anything specifically creepy, the more he talked, the more put off I was. It just seemed deeper than a get to know you as the first time I'm meeting you speech should have gone. It was an intro to research class and I already had research experience, so I got permission to waive it, and I dropped the class. Later learned he killed his previous tar/girlfriend before killing himself. I have several questions. During French class, a guy in my class said that he liked stabbing children. He meant that he fences, but didn't know the exact translation for that. I love the French class fun facts. In a beginner French class, I had to accidentally come out to the class when I was asked whether I had a spouse. Je suis un lesbian. It was awkward. Jane D's chats. Apostrophe. Je préfère chats. Good point. I'm not sure why I made them male cats. A student. Not a teacher. But once we were going around a circle during percussion camp in the front ensemble and my teacher goes, "Hello everyone. My name is," and I have shit my pants as an adult. Definitely one of the weirder ones I've heard. Knowing drummers, I'm not a bit surprised. Ouch. But I can't say I don't know where you're coming from. I was an ESL teacher in Indonesia and a student once told me every morning she cleaned the shit on her bed. I asked her to clarify, worried she had a serious digestive issue. She answered, "I brush my teeth, wash face and clean bedsheet." I did the same for a few years and it was great. I remember one class had to make posters of something that meant a lot to them. Most drew pics of their family with mom, dad, sister, brother etc labeled on them. Some drew their pets or something. Some drew BTS. The usual stuff that you'd expect. One kid's paper just had a huge picture of a hand flipping someone off with the word piss in huge letters across it. I was like, WTF Sayakura? It took me a moment to realize that she had meant to write peace, but spelt it using phonics from Bahasa. Also had to explain that the peace sign has the palm outwards. Not gonna lie, accidentally flipped off a couple cashiers at cafes and such when I was in England and wanted to have something. Generally the exchange involved them looking offended, then me turning bright red and apologizing repeatedly. Our only version of flip off in the US is the middle finger. In fact, casually throwing up 2 fingers with the palm facing in can also be a what's up kind of greeting. So, yeah. Cultural differences and all. Till. Kid in my kindergarten class said me PP fell off at Disneyland. He didn't ask any follow-up questions. My dick fell off. Oh no. Anyways, the Toyota Urban Cruiser. Not a teacher, but I was a helper in a middle school classroom. A young girl, who seemed uninterested, said, with no hesitation, that she can chug an entire bottle of beer. She got expelled later that year for keeping drugs in her locker. Brutal. I'm a middle school teacher, and I find that most adults who don't spend much time around kids don't realize just how young middle schoolers are. I mean, lol, immature middle schoolers is kind of a meme. But seriously, we are talking about 11-year-olds here. Yeah. As I helped around the classroom there, the amount of jokes with dark humor honestly scared me. They're still children, but they are making jokes about serious mental illnesses. I think it's a mix between internet access and actually experiencing it. I had school friends who started self-harming around that age, and many of us started to develop mental health problems. For reference, I'm 20, so had the internet at that age. Edit. I want to make clear that I'm not saying internet access causes mental health issues. I'm saying that children and teens have more knowledge about those issues available, such as names and symptoms. Though obviously online bullying can cause / exacerbate issues. I was hospitalized with an 11-year-old who was pregnant. The father was her 11-year-old boyfriend. A student once told my wife that her daddy had a special device that he had to blow into to start his truck. He's definitely not an alcoholic. To be fair, you don't have to be an alcoholic to get a DUI, and in some states, mine at least, you have to get one of those for minimum 6 months even for a first offense. But yeah, alcoholics are more likely to get DUIs. And also I'm aware that some states wouldn't make you get a breathalyzer until you've had multiple offenses. I know someone who got a DUI for marijuana and had to do breathalyzers on the color system for 6 months. But they only had to get drug tested once a month. Made no sense. My uncle has one in his car. When I asked about it, he just said it was annoying because if you didn't blow a 0, it wouldn't let you start the car. So if you went to bed at 2 after drinking and got up at 9 to go somewhere, sometimes he'd be fucked because his system wasn't totally clear yet. He also told me he had a friend who got a DUI in a rental. As part of his sentence he had to get the breathalyzer. Problem was, the guy didn't own a car. Court said too bad. Get a breathalyzer or go to jail. So the guy had to buy a Poe's car and pay for parking for it for 6 months. The real kicker was the machine would report back some bullshit if the car wasn't started for a couple weeks straight. So every 2 to 3 weeks he'd have to get a ride to the car to start it and let it run for a few minutes. I'm not a teacher, but this guy in my class, named Shane, has this medical condition that causes him to grow tons of hair at an early age. Full beard in middle school. He would say I'm Shane, and I'm very hairy. He could say my name is Shane, but friends call me Harry. Apostrophe. Carrot. Yeah, a Shane. Harry. Close bracket. You're a hairy Shane. Ain't no Shane in his hair game. Back quote, my dad clogged the toilet this morning and that's why I'm feeling frustrated minus 5-year-old child. I will say the question was how are you doing this morning? But I could barely keep from laughing out loud. I have vibes. My toddler once told visiting friends that daddy takes long poops. I mean, I was having a flare up and had some extended bathroom sessions. But dang little dude, not cool. I'm terrified / amused about what he might share at school in the near future. Well, I'm 21 now, but in kindergarten we had to bring something pretty to class for show and tell. I brought my mom's new bra and panty set from Victoria's Secret. Lol, edit. Hey, my first award. Thanks guys. At about 8 years old I brought my mom's bikini to daycare to wear to the pool. It had big foam C cups. Strutted my way out to the pool and all the adults' eyes bugged out of their heads before quickly ushering me back inside and calling my mom. Holy crap, that is hysterical. When I was about 9 or 10 I was very flat-chested, while my best friend and her family were all very gifted. One day we stole one of her mom's bras and stuffed it for me. It was like a COD cup. I strutted back into my house, right past my father, who almost had a heart attack from laughing so hard. I teach ESL, and every lesson we start the class by sharing something good that happened to us over the last week or so. Needless to say, kids share the most random things ever. I have many weird stories because of that. We enforce a rule that they need to share good things so they don't start one-upping each other over whose grandma had the worst death. Lol. One day, a student said, I was riding my bike over the weekend when I fell. I could see where it was going, but didn't have enough time to enforce the rule. When he just spat out, I fell over a wired fence and cut my neck. It just kept gushing blood. A lot of blood. I reminded him that we were only sharing good news when he said, it's good because I'm still alive. I had a good laugh and agreed, but the damage was done. Every kid after him wanted to share about the most horrific injury they had or witnessed. Once the boulder had started rolling, you can't stop it. I hate when this happens. Close bracket. The boulder was conflicted about rolling over a blind little girl, but the boulder got over his confliction. In the context of having students introduce themselves one by one to a new boy in a small high school class, a girl said her parents got her a nose job and a boob job. Is that even legal to get a boob job for a minor? The parents and low ethics doctor cook up a medical, as opposed to cosmetic, reason. Deviate septum and obstructed sinuses for nose, inverted nipples, pectoral muscle damage, damaged lymph or milk ducts for boobs. Yup. Basically how my housemate had an OSA job at 16. Why would she need a nose job for inverted nipples? That he has been to juvie multiple times and is currently on probation. Then he pulled up his pants enough that everyone could see his ankle monitor. That was something. Then he pulled up his pants, not actually the worst direction he could have pulled his pants, though. Cock monitor. During an introductory activity for my new class, a boy, aged 9, got up and said my dog has to wear a cone on its head because dad had his bollocks cut off. Where are my testicles, summer? Not a teacher, but in 3rd grade, we would do this weekly how was your weekend sort of thing, where we'd sit in a circle and share. This one girl casually goes, I found out that my biological father didn't want me, in a super nonchalant tone and everything. I still remember the awkward tension. Way back on the first day of middle school, when asked about their summer, a girl I knew said I got kidnapped and almost died. She had been in and out of foster care for the past 3 years. Her dad left her and her mom, which caused her mom to develop schizophrenia. Her mom was in and out of treatment facilities for the next few years, and this girl was placed with a really nice foster family. One day the BO mom just kidnaps the girl and holds her hostage in a squatter's house. This girl had a bad peanut allergy, but her mom still tried to feed her a peanut butter sandwich and she went into anaphylactic shock. I guess after this another squatter called the cops, and they got there in time and everything was okay. Dear goodness, thank God she was okay. That's absolutely horrible. How is she doing now? Do you know? Her mom got sent to jail and she was placed permanently with her foster family. I'm not sure if they adopted her. They moved away a year later. This was 15 plus years ago and I really didn't keep in touch. But last I heard she was still doing okay. When I was in my first year at university, my law and society professor made each student get up, say his/her name, and tell why they picked law school. Well, a guy got up, said his name, and the professor interrupted him by asking anon, "Are you related to X?" The guy, "Yes, professor. He is my grandfather." Then the professor got excited and started talking about what great of a guy X is, and that he haven't heard of him in years. Then the professor asked how he was. Anon replied, "He is dead, sir." The whole class was trying to hold the laughter. It pretty much broke the class that first day. At least he said good things about the grandpa instead of calling him an shat and finding out after he was deceased. So how's that piece of shit doing these days? He's dead, sir. Oh, good. One of my former bosses said he hoped at least one person would call him an asshole or piece of shit, so that made me laugh. Not me, but my brother. He told the teacher last night my family ate beaver for dinner. I was much older and had left home by then. The class laughed. The teacher accused him of lying. The principal was brought into this, and my mother had to go in for a meeting. She chewed them up one side and down the other because we had a cousin who was a trapper and he had sent a batch of beaver thighs for the family to enjoy. Although my brother was telling the truth. He told me later that he did say that for the effect, disrupting the class. Why in the world would the teacher make a big deal out of that? Waste of time and energy for everyone. Because beaver is a double entendre for a woman's genitals. Really? News to me. It makes the beaver merchandise from beaver. You tore much more amusing. We did one of those 2 truths 1 lie bits. Girl stands up and says, I've never been out of the country. I'm a twin. I love playing sports. I knew this girl beforehand and knew she didn't have a twin. So pick that one. Nope. She had a conjoined twin that died in utero and had to be surgically removed, and she's now missing the last vertebrae on her spine. Showed us the scar and everything. Apparently the lie was the first one as she'd been to Mexico. I had a student say a similar thing. 1. I really like reading books too. I had a stroke 3 years ago. 3. I'm a triplet. This was the first few days at a new school for me and his twin sister was in my class. So, he's a twin, right? Nope. They are triplets, but his brother is in a different school. BC he's incredibly smart. This kid was in a special program 1 day a week. BC he was smart too. So his brother must have been a genius. His sister just sat there like yay, one brother is a genius and this does brilliant. I'm just me. She was a fantastic kid, but had a lot of self-esteem issues for obvious reasons. Edit. The lie was that he liked reading books. True that he had a stroke. Lol. I'm a triplet. One of us runs an engineering firm. The other is a university professor. The third just got out of jail and managed to land a decent job installing hardwood floors. Congrats on the flooring job. I died laughing at this. My friend is really quiet. He doesn't really talk unless talked to. He's really cool though and has some things he enjoys doing. Literally second year I knew him, the teacher asked this and he said he's a professional bowler with a 300 best. And I was like, why haven't you told me this? That's amazing. I guess it just never came up. Haha. Knew him for a whole year and never knew that. Guess he had a spare fact. He put a pin in it. Had students, aged 11, sharing strategies for dealing with difficult emotions. One at a time in a big circle. One girl talked about digging her nails into her face whenever she was feeling stressed or anxious. And I had to explain to the class why self-harm was not a good coping strategy. How did you explain it? I didn't go into a lot of detail, how would you? But I said I didn't recommend hurting yourself to help cope with things, because if that became a habit, you'd feel a lot worse in the long run. I said thank you to her for sharing, but asked the next person for a strategy that didn't involve hurting yourself. I like to dig my nails into the face of the kid sitting next to me. Apostrophe. Thanks for the laugh. I've had my hand up a sheep's bum, shocked me slightly. Child of a farming family, helping with lambing season. Up the butt. Haha. I know they do that to cows to check if they see pregnanted it. Some people mentioned it was to impregnate them, not to check if they are pregnant. Edit 2. Apparently it is also done to check if they are pregnant. Final edit. Hopefully. I'm not sure what's right and what's wrong, but just read the replies before applying yourself. Legless. What do your elf-eyes see? Pregnant. A lot of pregnant. Apostrophe. Pregante. Someone in a class once told everyone about how his grandparents were arrested for keep a bunch of adopted children in cages. He said that he used to play with the kids when he was young, but he was too young to understand that the conditions they were in weren't normal. They kept kids in cages and locked in rooms for years before they were discovered and arrested. Yup. Fun fact. Edit. I'm not a teacher. This person who told the story was in a class with me as a young adult. Was he telling the truth? Yes. We were able to look up his family name along with state, and the news article popped right up. In my psychology class, we were talking about the early signs of serial killers, and the quietest girl who never spoke told the story of when she lived in Chicago. She had a friend around 5th grade who would always stomp on baby birds and once put his hamster in the microwave. Well, his parents were having difficulty keeping up with his antics, so they sent him to his grandmother's, who he promptly stabbed to death when she woke him up for school. So that was interesting. I'm shifting in my chair just thinking of this exchange. I'm sweating uncontrollably thinking of this. But then I did run up 3 flights of stairs twice in the last 10 minutes. Why did you do that /you/discerning pivot? He is possibly aroused. I had a student tell me that sometimes his dad got drunk and asked his mom for things. As I was starting to tell him he didn't need to elaborate any further, he continued with like soup, and he yells it like "so up." It took every bit of restraint to not laugh. It's been years and years since that happened, but I still laugh when I think about it. Not a teacher, but a few years ago on the first day of school, this kid in one of my classes casually answered, "I have a restraining order on my dad." That's actually a smart move. Now everyone in class knows that this father can't come pick him up. It wasn't weird, but actually cute and funny. I was teaching 5th grade and this kid, white as paper, goes, "My name is, but you can call me LeBron." He had an obsession with LeBron James and I did in fact call him LeBron whenever I wanted to get his attention. Great kid. Damn, are you my English teacher? Cause this sounds like something she would do. Lol, I've been told that a lot of English teachers are like this. Can confirm. English teachers were some of my favorite teachers, which is weird because in media growing up they were always shown to be so strict and serious. I said my dad steal cars. It was something my parents always told us growing up as a joke. The teacher just laughed and said that's nice. My dad used to joke that he was off to the coal mines every morning. He also never told me what his job actually was, so I just believed that he worked in the coal mines despite the fact that we lived in Southern California and he wore a suit and tie to work every day. He was the CFO of a subsidiary of a company you've probably heard of. I was just a little bit off. A guy in my class introduced himself by telling us how he decided he wanted to study philosophy because one day he was really hippieing in the street and he saw a couple of people working and he wondered what they were doing. So he realized his passion was wondering. He dropped out like 2 months later. It's hard to wonder when people tell you what to think. If you are new to Tattletale TV, please subscribe. We have new videos every day. Stay tuned for more coming up next.